All right, so I'm just gonna briefly go through Freedom of Access Act. I know you guys,
Very
again,
briefly, please.
up to date on this. You don't need to hear me truly talk about it, but I think it is nice to have those pieces in the presentation for reference. One of the requirements is that you have to be trained in FOA, so here we are running through that. Major piece that I want to harp on with the Freedom of Access Act is that it does count for both your personal email and your associated email with the work that you do for the town. So I just want to make it clear that if you have communications regarding an application, whether it be on your private email or it's on a town-related one, it is subject to FOA. So no subs.
Would that go for written notes too?
Yes, it does. So if you make any sort of record of anything that's going to be related to the application. So a public record includes almost any document or electronic information. So handwritten notes, email, I would think any, written communications, any note-taking can be subject to it. That being said, it is nice to have things clear for the record. So I always recommend that, yes, we have these FOA requirements, but make sure, notes you're taking are really clear. Motions you make are really clear so that, should you get a FOA request to review the information, it is nice and straightforward.
I've obviously not seen my penmanship.
That's exactly, that's an interpretation in itself.
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously, FOA requires that all meetings of the public are open. So when you have your planning board meeting, obviously those are open to the public. And associated with that are public notices before the meeting, opportunity for the public to attend, meeting or other records documented during the meeting, and votes taken. The law does not require public bodies to allow public comment at every meeting, though some municipalities do so. So that's something I don't know if you have, I know you're working on bylaws. Some towns make distinct things about people making comment during the planning board meeting. It's absolutely up to the municipality, but just something I mention whenever I'm running through this.
And that goes the same for appeal board meetings? Because we've got 3 of them here.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So that's appeals. Any aggrieved party may appeal to any superior court in the state to seek relief from an alleged FOA violation. So relief can be in the form of an order issued by the court that directs the government or agency to comply with the law, providing access to the public proceeding, or by making public records available. A local government entity whose officer or employee commits a willful violation is subject to a fine of no more than $500 for the first violation. So just wanted to bring up that there is a bit of recourse there. There's the $500 should anybody willfully violate a FOA request or not provide somebody who's requesting the information.
We have a FOA officer, Loretta.
That is great. I have never once heard any other town do that, so.
Yeah, even like somebody as simple as me, I needed my copy of my septic design. If it's that simple, I go in and ask Loretta, hey, can I do this? She says yes, I send it along. But I CC her.
Great.
Anything else, like an entire file or a planning board file or an appeal file, anything else goes through her.
That's great.
If she comes in and says, what's it gonna take? If it's more than an hour, I'll tell her, I'm like, it's gonna take me like half a day.
To
The
do- yeah.
file's this thick.
Yeah,
And she's like, she puts together an invoice and sends it, and they
That's
approve it
great.
before we start work.
that's great.
Yeah.
So really good process, and things like that, I have to say, help with planning board functions because things can fall through the cracks, and I've seen it happen
Yeah.
a lot recently. So there's ongoing litigation in Sumner with DEP right now for reasons very much similar to this, and we won't get into that. But planning board duties and procedures. So I always just like to point out how I go about handling a meeting and what I do to prepare myself for being at a planning board meeting. Obviously, I know some of you are very well familiar with some of this stuff, but I do like to, again, just talk through it because I know it's not always intuitive. Big thing that I like to remind boards is that the materials that are going to be on the agenda for the planning board meeting, try to take a look at them before the meeting. And then reach out to staff if you have any questions, comments. Another big piece that I like to do is, if you're looking at a development application, it's been on the agenda a few times. review where you last left off on it. What was the item that you were requesting of the applicant? What was the previous motion made? That way you can kind of pick right up at the meeting instead of, there have been so many planning board meetings where I've been in, what are we reviewing this for this month? And believe me, I do it too, but just taking the time to quickly work through that before the meeting just sets you up for success. So again, if a development review is on the agenda, determine if the application is a subdivision or site plan, what zoning districts it's located in, and then you'll follow through the applicable town ordinances. We're gonna get really in-depth on those, so I'm not even gonna touch on them right now. Starting a meeting, again, I'm sure all of you know this, but chair calls a meeting to order, verifies if there's a quorum, which is 50% plus 1. If a quorum is not met at the meeting, then no official business can be conducted, so you can't vote on anything substantive. Although without a quorum, you can have an informational meeting. So you want to talk through some things related to planning work, but make no official actions, that's okay. I will not read through making a motion because I'm fairly sure that all of you are aware of how to do that, but I do have it in the presentation for a little cheat sheet that if you're in the middle of the meeting and you're like, how does the procedure go? You can refer to that. Meeting procedures. So board members will start off, review the previous meeting minutes, chair calls for a motion to approve the minutes, etc. Upon approval of the minutes, you'll move into your agenda items, which will be your development review. So, yes?
Do we use Robert's Rules of Order? Sort of?
No, we do not. Because Robert's Rules of Order is 750 pages long.
Oh, I know, I know. I was just asking.
We are, since you're new here, Brian, you probably, for the past year, we have been hammering out a rules of procedure to replace the existing bylaws that have been in place since 1992, I believe. And as an enclosure to those rules of procedure, should the board choose to adopt them, is a very simplified rules of order that accommodates a small rural planning board with only 3 members.
Gotcha.
And so we'll get into that in the meeting because that's the one on the agenda item, well, 2 agenda items you have in the item 2.
No, I was just asking, I didn't know, most meetings I go to are.
Well, most people say, oh, we want to follow Robert's Rules of Order, but in reality, those people have never even cracked open
It's true,
Robert's
Ted.
Rules of Order. And you know, if you're sitting in, if you're over in Great Britain and you're in the Parliament Hall and you want
They might be coming in there, but I don't,
Yeah,
they're not
yeah.
going back.
No, they don't really work well for a nice, small, homey.
Gotcha.
And I have to say, I'm really happy that you guys are working on the bylaws and procedures because those are such a thing for the board to fall back on. You have these things in writing. We're not making up the process as we go. If anybody has any questions on the way you're going about a procedure or reviewing an application, you can point right to that, which I know for myself has been helpful in the past. All right, now we're going to get really into it. So town ordinance is used in development review, and again, I'm just really going to get into depth of it, but should, you guys have any comments, you want to mention anything, please feel free to cut me off. So, understanding the specific requirements of the proposed land use according to the area it is located, you'll review your town ordinances to ensure compliance. So obviously the predominant ordinance you guys use when you're reviewing development applications is the UDRO, Unified Development Review Ordinance. Though, I'd like to mention that if you have applications which also meet the needs of other ordinances that you have, you will also be required to include those standards. So for example, you have a subdivision coming in that you're going to review under the UDRO, probably going to mess that up a few times today, but that proposal is located in the shoreland. So, yes, you will review it for the standards that are within the UDRO, but you will also need to refer to the shoreland zoning standards to make sure you're adhering to the lot sizes and land uses that are in there. So when you're reviewing any sort of application, in a lot of cases, the different ordinances that you will use will kind of layer upon each other. So definitely make a point, of getting familiarized with the ordinances, because, you know, once you read through them a few times, it is a little bit easier when you get an application to say, all right, we know we have a road entrance ordinance, when we have a subdivision, we also need to make sure that we conform to those standards. The table of land uses within each ordinance will then detail the level of review required for the proposed land use according to the district. So, I know you guys probably know that you have a very large table of land uses, much like every other municipality within the UDRO and in the shoreline zoning ordinance. So if you're wondering the level of review that's required for a specific application or something coming before the town, that is detailed within that table of land uses. So when it comes down to it, always make sure you refer to that. I did want to ask, Joelle, do you classify what type of application it is before it goes in front of the planning board?
No, they do.
Okay, great. Great, that's amazing, because it varies by municipality, so I'm happy to hear that, you know, that's the procedure we're at.
Yeah,
But-
Joelle is the
Receiver.
mailroom clerk,
Perfect.
and that's,
Is it in your job description?
Your job description is everything. I think that's,
however, as a mailroom clerk, she does get chatty, so she does help the applicants.
Stops at the
quite
water
I do.
cooler.
It's easier because I'm in the building 4
That's
days a
it.
week, huh? You know,
mhm,
for them to maybe reach out to the recording secretary, it was a cumbersome process.
yeah,
Prior to me getting here, I was used to doing it for the other towns.
I figured, yeah. And that was, you know, looking at the records. I will just say you guys are really lucky you have Joelle, given that she does provide you a lot of assistance and capacity, because there are other municipalities that are kind of on their own when it comes down to it. So you guys have a good board, you have a good town, and a lot of great members, so you are set up for success. It's just making sure that we review everything that we need to do. All right, so land use requirements. Again, understanding the approvals required for a proposed land use will be in accordance with the area it is located. And you'll review the UDRO and the gross management district map. I also wanted to mention this is kind of small. I can print a version at 36 by 48 if you guys want one.
Yes, please.
Okay, so I will plan to bring that, just because I think it's nice to have a really big version of the map on the wall, especially when you're reviewing development applications, because you can, and I know I've been in, you know, so I'll provide another one of those just to kind of assist with that. But say you guys want me to send you all PDFs of your zoning map, I can in fact do that too. So,
That's already available.
I think we have that.
Yeah.
I think we gave that.
yeah, so, but anything I can assist with mapping wise, I do want to put in to everybody.
It is also on our GIS mapping on our website. You can go over to the left and choose
Okay, great.
zoning, and all of that happens on your laptop.
But we have gone over and looked at that diagram.
Yeah, thank you.
Every now and again, you're just like, I need to stand up and look at it, so, exactly. All right. Again, one or more ordinances may be used in the review of a development depending on the nature of the application and where it is located. So I've listed a few of the other applicable ordinances that may be included underneath here, but again, I'm sure you guys are somewhat familiar with your ordinances and the different pieces you need to incorporate in development review. So the table of land uses within section 11 of the UDRO details the level of review, like I said, according to the district. If the proposed land use includes the following site uses or is required to receive site plan approval according to the table of land uses in section 11, the applicant must submit a site plan application in accordance with section 10 application procedures and specifically submission requirements. So here you'll see I just added in the criteria for site plan approval as per the UDRO. That's within section 1. So it describes site uses requiring site plan approval unless exempted right in that section of the ordinance. So another piece that I like to bring up is if you ever have questions, it is supposed to be in the ordinance and we have it there to refer to. Because I know it's, you know, when you're on a board and you're making decisions on the fly sometimes, it's easy to feel like you have to fill in holes, but we do have everything here in writing, and the more that we stick to it, the more of an expectation that comes from the applicant. It just makes the procedure a little more straightforward. All right. Continuing into subdivision. So, if a proposal falls under the criteria for a subdivision as contained in Title 30A, Section 4401, so that's definitions, The applicant's required to submit a subdivision application, which again contains the materials that are required in section 10, the submission requirements of the UDRO. There are very, very many exemptions to subdivision law. So instead of me putting those up there, what I have done is printed all of the exemptions to subdivision law so that you guys have those to refer to in the future, because I know for myself, sometimes I have to go back and read the law as well. There's just a lot of different pieces as far as the exemptions go. So that's all right there.
Thank you.
Of course.
Joel.
In case you want it.
Thanks.
So, in general, subdivision means the division of a tract or parcel of land into 3 or more lots within any 5-year period, beginning on or after September 23rd, 1971. So, the term subdivision also includes the division of a new structure or structures. This was just changed in legislation within the last few months. So previously, subdivision for dwelling units had been into 3 or more dwelling units within a 5-year period to reflect what they have for the lot division. They've just changed that now the threshold is 5 or more dwelling units within a 5-year period. Meaning that if something is proposing 4 dwelling units, but they're not dividing the land at all, it technically wouldn't count as a subdivision anymore, and it would go through town level review. So there are some changes that are going on to subdivision law right now.
So, I have a single resident, or a piece of land with just one residential unit.
Mm-hmm.
And I get crafty, and I transfer that land to a condominium. And so now, title of the land is transferred from my name to a condominium association, which I just happen to be the president of the board.
Yeah. You know.
And then, so I can, now that I have a condominium, I could build 3 more units and only have to go through Joel for a land use permit, is that correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Doesn't even have
And
a
then,
condo.
and then,
It
because
does,
these
yeah.
are individual standing units, they're allowed accessory dwelling units,
So,
possibly.
yes, Ted. But the legislation is really getting crazy with the amount of housing that they're allowing. And honestly, it is stripping back a lot of home rule where I'm definitely one for, yes, we need housing and we need it to be affordable, but I think the way that they're forcing the density permissions on the municipalities is just not as informed as it could be. So there are pieces coming forth with the new legislation that if you are located in a designated growth area that is identified within your comprehensive plan and you have no public water or sewer, the town has to allow a 20,000 square foot lot size as long as it adheres to the state's subsurface wastewater disposal rules. So that's a large reduction in lot size, and it's something that has come up in pretty much every municipality that I'm working with right now. I think this law was intended for places that have a little bit more density already, so it is changing the character a lot for our municipalities. Now, that being said, we are updating the comprehensive plan at this point in time. So it is kind of perfect because we really are going to be able to take a look at what the designated growth area is, where that lot size is going to apply, and really, have that then reflected within the UDRO. So there will be much conversation to come on that component of the comprehensive plan.
So that'll really control the growth areas and still maintain the rural character of the town.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. So the density is increased in those designated growth areas, but the lot sizes that you have dictated in your rural zone or your general development or protection district, those ones will stay the same as they were now.
Our attorney says those are all growth designated zones.
Really?
Uh-huh.
I wondered because of that's why I held back. I pointed to general development, was like,
Let's get that reaffirmed maybe with Loretta before you draft anything else for the comprehensive plan.
yeah, absolutely, because that's something.
Or perhaps the comprehensive plan will be the key to
Maybe.
changing that.
Yeah, but
Interesting.
What I've been doing recently, just to make it really clear what the new ones I've been doing is, for the purposes of the State's Growth Management Act, this is a growth area. For the purposes of the State's Growth Management Act, this is a transition area. So that then doesn't fall within the growth area designation, it removes it from that
as
piece.
long as it's defensible and enforceable.
I called the Municipal Planning Assistance Program, because this is something that's going on with everybody, and unfortunately, most municipalities want to update their comp plan, but they're not at that point, so now they're kind of stuck with what they have. I got the interpretation that if the town amends their future land use plan separately, and then the town votes on it and it adopts it, they will identify the growth areas that you adopted at the town level, and not just look at the ones that the state reviewed when they reviewed for consistency, which was something that blew my mind a little bit. So I thought they'd be more restrictive on that, but I definitely want to make sure we're really in line with what
Yeah.
the attorney needs to, everybody needs to be on the same page as that,
Okay.
so that one's.
Just give me a heads up.
Thanks, Joelle. Perfect. Okay, so just continuing subdivision definition, again, so it's either construction or placement of 5 or more dwelling units, and then additionally, division of existing structures or structures previously used for commercial or industrial use into 5 or more dwelling units within a 5-year period. I will also mention that they are now in the process of updating subdivision law even further. So there will be changes that happen probably 2 years from now. That has to go through major substantive rulemaking, so it will be a little while before that comes about, but I always like to just drop a hint that there will be some future changes coming to that. All right. Again, what the heck? Alright. Just gonna leave that up, but I think, just wanna make sure what page I'm on. In here, okay, yep. What I want to do now is jump into, so, like I said before, if it is located within the shoreland, we must adhere to the shoreland zoning requirements. Now I'm going to jump away from this presentation and move into this little lovely document that I have handed out to everybody. So, what I did in preparation of coming here today was look through the UDRO, look through your other provisions to see, okay, what do you guys actually need to find an application complete? Thank you. And I have to say, for myself being a land use planner, if I'm going to do any development review for any town, I have to do this for myself because there's so many different components involved with it that it is very easy to overlook them. So, for myself, I figured this could be useful to you guys because I really wanted to harp in on the fact that when you're reviewing an application, we really want to make sure that you have everything you need to review the application. I want to make a distinct point of saying the burden of proof is on the applicant who is proposing their application. If they cannot meet the criteria that's in here or provide you with the rationale that you feel comfortable with saying, yes, it meets this criteria, then it is up to the applicant to provide you with more information. And don't feel bad requiring more information. I know it's hard when you have somebody in and you want to work with them and get their, application approved, keep it going. But it's very important that you make sure you keep, on task with everything that's within the ordinance. And again, it's in writing for a reason so that we can fall back on it. So what I did, like I said, was bring together some of these checklists here. So you'll see I started off with development review completeness checklist. So this goes through the requirements that are in section 10C of the UDRO for submission. Then I moved into the survey requirements. So that whole first checklist that is there is all the materials that you need to find the application complete. So
1 through 43, or the entire package?
No, just the first, so the first green table, the one that says development review completeness, which is made up of submission requirements and then
Okay.
survey
Items 1
requirements.
through 43.
And then 1 through
Survey
35.
requirements.
Well, survey requirements are later on, but that's
No, but
not,
that's green.
oh, that's
We need to
green.
make sure they're complete too.
Okay, thank you.
And that's why I put them in there, because I know for myself, it's really easy to say, all right, great, well, we got the submission requirements, let's go. But we gotta make sure all that stuff's on the survey so that you guys can have the appropriate information to actually assess the application. So, being as such, like I said, I made these tables so that hopefully you guys can use them in the future. If you get in an application, you can tick through this and say, okay, yes, they meet these requirements. Yes, they've submitted this. Something that I personally do and I can say has come in handy for me in the past, if you write down the date you got those materials when you're going to bring your finding of fact together before approving an application, you have a lot of information already ahead of you. So I do think it helps, in the long run to prepare the finding of fact as well. So not only will you need the submission requirements, you'll also need to have this information included on the survey to find the application complete. So you'll see I kind of kept it going in the sense of how you would typically go about a development review. So after that, I included a note for, will a public hearing be held on the application? That is something I wanted to ask you guys about. Do you typically hold a public hearing for most applications?
A public hearing is required for a major subdivision application.
Yes.
It's optional for a minor subdivision and site plan. And it is something that is discussed by the board and with a motion and a vote as to whether or not a public hearing will, if it's optional, whether.
If it's not a major subdivision and required through the UDRO. Great. And that's something I like to check in on because there have been municipalities that I've went to that find the application complete, waive the public hearing, and approve it all in one day. And that is probably one of the worst practices that you could go about in reviewing a development application. And I'll just say it's straightforward because, a lot of things can get left out in that way. And you need to be able to look through everything and say, you're comfortable with approving it before that person is there at the meeting. And I think that's a big important piece of it, is being able to have that rationale before you go into that final meeting to say, yep, we reviewed your application. It meets all of these criteria for completeness. We waived the public hearing. The next component is the development review performance standards. So when you really get into the code, I know at first it's, all right, we got these submission requirements, we have different pieces, and the more you really get into it, the more you see there are a lot of pieces that have to be adhered to. So I laid it out this way so that you guys could see it as, okay, step one is, do they have all of those materials? Does the survey include that information? Yes, no, okay, yes, we find it complete. Next component is seeing if it meets all of these development review performance standards. So anything that you're reviewing is going to have to meet these components as well. So I tried to pull out the different pieces with a little bit of a question and then like a lead-in of, okay, so the number 3, for example, will this proposal have an unreasonable adverse impact on the municipal services, including municipal road systems, fire department, police department, solid waste, schools, recreational programs and facilities, and other municipal services and facilities? If it does, how will the impact be mitigated in conformance with section 18B 1 through 4, which is requiring a fee to accommodate for the municipal services? So I've put this here and put it together so that you can kind of go through it and then as a planning board say, okay, does this proposal have minimal adverse impact on the environmental and aesthetic qualities of the development in neighboring areas? Yes or no? And then you can kind of have a little bit of spot for rationale there.
Erica, in a recent planning board
Yes,
business,
Blake, please bring up cases because this is good.
There's been some questions brought up by board members concerning a pre-application review.
Oh, I am so happy you brought this up, Ted.
Would you please, and I personally have some questions or concerns, and it evolves with drawing a line or being able to distinguish what is proper in a pre-application review and what perhaps might come back to haunt the board that somebody will accuse us of holding deliberations?
And that is a very good question, and it's something that I see go wrong at the town level very often. What I like to say is, you should not be giving the applicant any recommendations, any input on the application until you officially have an application in front of you. So I would view a pre-application meeting as an opportunity for the applicant to tell you what they have going on with their proposal, and you guys to listen and decide if you want to set a site walk according to your code. That was something I found a little quirky, and I did want to mention myself is, I know that, so when I work with Minne's planning board, we set the site walk once the application is found complete.
We do too.
Okay.
It just is, it's quirky in that our chapter 9 or what.
It's laid out in
And
a,
it says that it's also can do, but that's not the primary.
so in practice, you guys usually do it after you find it
If we
complete.
do one after, normally either, probably somewhere in between completeness and the start of deliberation.
Okay, that's great, and that's exactly what I was hoping you'd say, because there is a lot of instances where I've been out on a site walk, the application hasn't been complete yet, and one of the planning board members will look at the applicant and say, oh yeah, if you give us that piece of the survey, it'll be fine, we'll find it complete, and I'm like, no, that is not. So you just really want to be careful with what you're communicating to the applicant. And I think it's not that they want to take advantage of the board. I think it's a lack of understanding how the process works. So if they get any sort of inkling that if they do something, you will approve it, they will hold to that. And they'll really be looking for that to be a yes, no, move on. So I always just like to say as little as possible and let the applicant explain to you what they're doing and give you the input that you need to move forward with the application. So if you feel like you don't understand the proposal based off the way the applicant is explaining it, then it's up to them to kind of, bring you guys up to speed or do a better job of explaining their application. So I always say, kind of use it as a listening session. It just always works out better that way, where you listen to the applicant, you hear if you have any specific recommendations on what you want on the survey according to what they have told you, or if there's a specific study because it's some over-the-top different type of proposal, that might be a little different, but I just always warn against making any sort of promises or inklings of decisions while you're in the pre-application meeting.
Would the public have a right to like this checklist to make sure that they've done everything
I was
on
just
their
thinking about
application?
that would be helpful, I would think, if I was an applicant.
I mean, like, that pre-application meeting, like, it almost seems like it should be like, here's your checklist that we're gonna go by. I don't know.
I mean, I email out the checklist.
I was gonna say, I'm sure, Joelle,
We have a one-page checklist we use for shoreline and site plan, but we also have the criteria of approval, which hasn't been updated
No.
with our new ordinance, but we have, I email these out. They're on my computer, they're public record.
and see, that's even better, because I'm telling you, it was just last week, I was in Mechanic Falls, and I had talked to a developer who was bringing together an application, and they finally got to the point of, here's the application. And the application was missing like 3/4 of the information that was required through the code. And so I sent back an email, okay, according to what you've submitted thus far, here's the list of materials you need to submit for the application to actually be able to be put on the agenda. And I immediately got a phone call. I thought you said the survey was good. I filled everything out according to the thing. And I said, yes, but you wrote not applicable for like 3/4 of the things that are actually required.
Yeah.
So, it's just, I know a lot of the time the applicants will come in with, oh, we don't need that. Yeah, it's fine. There's no wetlands there. We know there's no wetlands there. Make sure you get the information, because it's easy to fall into the motion of when you have an applicant in front of you explaining their process, and, just make sure you go by the code. It just makes it easier, and then you don't have any heartache over it because it's in writing. You're required to do it. You know what I mean?
And it's non-selective, which is what we can't be.
Exactly. And I've seen it so many times where somebody's buddy comes in front of the planning board, and suddenly they don't need, the stormwater and drainage plan. They don't need an erosion and sedimentation plan. And that's the kind of stuff that gets you in trouble down the line, because you know what? Yes, this site doesn't seem that bad, but then in 5 years when something goes on and Joelle's out on site trying to enforce and has nothing to point to, everybody's looking around like, maybe we should have required that at that level. And I've been in both sides of it where afterwards I'm like, maybe I should have required that at the planning board level. So just really make sure you are as strict as possible, because you're better off that way than kind of letting things scale through a little bit.
Okay, so we have the pre-application meeting, everybody walks out, goes home, and the application comes in, what's next?
Finding of completeness. So what you'll do is you get that application and you're gonna review it for completeness with the UDRO according to this little.
Green.
Yes, exactly. And I tried to make them different colors so it was a little more understandable. But to find it complete, you will make sure that they have submitted everything in submission requirements and their survey contains the pieces that it needs to contain according to that second section down there, survey requirements. At that point, if you have everything and it's adhered to, then you can find the application complete and move on with the more substantive review of seeing, okay, are all the performance standards met that are in that pink table? Moving on. So everything will then have to meet section 18. You found the application complete. Now you get into this part because you have all the materials you have. And I've seen that happen too, where, all right, you find it complete, and then, wait, we still kind of needed stuff. Ensuring that you have that completeness, meaning you have all the materials you need, will then facilitate some of that review of the performance standards. Because again, if you can't easily answer these questions of, will the landscape be preserved in its natural state insofar as practical by minimizing tree removal? If you as a board can't say yes, no, automatically, then you should ask for the applicant to give you more information to prove why they are meeting that standard. You shouldn't have to meddle through everything and really rack your brain to think, okay, well, how do they meet this? It's their responsibility to tell you how they meet your code. So, I know, again, it just got to put that out there. If you feel like you can't answer something, put it right back on the applicant. If we don't feel like we have sufficient information to be able to say that, yes, in fact, you do meet this criteria, so we may want a little bit more information to review before we make a finding.
And not verbal, okay,
No.
it's recorded in our minutes, and the applicant says, well, we said in, 2 meetings ago we were gonna do this. We have it in the minutes, but I can't
Yep.
enforce minutes.
Yep.
Right.
Oh, this is a good point, Joelle. So something that I have started to do, because that comes up a lot, is I will send follow-up letters to applicants detailing the materials that they were asked to submit to the planning board at their meeting to say, as per the meeting that we held on this date, your application was found incomplete because you were missing da 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 da
You
da
just
da.
gave me more work.
You and me.
We still like working here though, right?
I'm like, Joelle, we can work on it.
All right.
But
all right.
seriously, that's the kind of stuff where I have to say, I know it's come in handy for me in the past, where I'm like, I know I asked you for that stormwater drainage plan, and
We have an applicant that will sit here and say, okay, so just so I understand, this is what I just heard you say, and he's taking notes.
That's-
It's
yeah.
great.
that's what you want, but of course, not
Not
everybody's
everyone's
like that, yeah. So I know for myself, it's just something that's come in handy for me in the past. Yes, it might be kind of a pain in the butt sometimes, but then if you have it on the record, again, well, guess what? When you go to do the finding of fact, you can just take it from there and say, all right, well, we required on this date, the completeness stuff. So just leaves a little bit more of a paper trail, which I think can be helpful should you continuously request the same items and not receive them at the meeting, because I've had that happen to me as
Okay.
well.
And you can work off a template letter.
Oh, you
And-
bet, yeah.
And just, if you have a template set up,
Mhm.
and then you address it to this one applicant, and you can delete the bullet points of what they submitted.
Oh, that's
So
a
it's
great
only
idea.
deleting the bullet points of what they didn't submit.
Yeah, so you take this of what they did submit, delete that, and then you have the rest is what they
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
I did that with another review type thing at Sunday River that I write letters for and stuff. And,
Yeah,
it's just,
Got your template and your templates,
you don't have
yeah.
to rewrite, you don't have to,
exactly.
yeah, you don't wanna recreate.
And again, it just puts a little bit more accountability on the applicant, because you guys have so much responsibility as a volunteer board to do so much work. And I will say that, a lot of, you guys don't have full-time planning staff. I know there's, a lot of other places people do, but I can tell you there's probably one town in my region that actually has planning staff. Well, two, Lewiston and Auburn. So, it's hard for you guys. You're getting in these applications, you are working and doing your whole life, and then you also have to review every single thing in the application, come up with the finding of facts, make sure that everything's cohesive. So I've just found that the more we utilize these sort of things, it's just helpful. And, you know, for you guys as a board, if there's anything that I could prepare from the planning standpoint that would facilitate your review, please let me know. I'm happy to do that
I'll
kind of
take a
stuff.
copy of your letter.
You
Just
know
as a, okay, this works for AvCog, let's see how we
Just-
tweak it for NEWRY.
Exactly, and
Yeah,
that's, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
this in Excel, that's because we were talking about updating this, and so this way, if there's any, this will be great to get from you in Excel.
Exactly, and you know what-
Update as needed.
And you guys obviously know your code in more depth and practice of actually, you know, administering it and enforcing it than I do, because I'm not administering and enforcing it directly right now. But it was nice for me to kind of be able to go through it and from that one step removed to say, okay, what does this ordinance say they need to have for an
Right.
application
I
to
like
be
the
found
color coding of
complete?
it too, it helps me
Yeah.
logically
Yep.
think, yep, that, then pink, then,
That's a
Yeah.
great idea.
I have to say, I've been doing planning for almost 10 years now, and I will never stop with my little completeness checklist because it works and it's accountability and you have it in writing. So definitely a useful tool, which is why, again, I just wanted to make sure I really hammered out, you know, every single thing that's in here. But again, if you guys go through it and you're like, Erica, you missed something, please tell me and I can add it, you know? Because I did read it a bunch of times, but you never know. So as you can see, section 18, there are a lot of requirements. But within there, I have also included at the end in pink, life safety and fire suppression standards from section 25. So, not only do they have to meet those performance standards, they do also have to meet this criteria in here. So what I really did when I made these was go through your different pieces of your ordinance to pull out, okay, what do you need at what stages? And it's across different sections, so again, I know when you're reviewing something, it's like, all right, what section are we referring to right now? So to have it all kind of together, I thought could be a little bit helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and then you'll see I did a development review final approval checklist. So this one goes through the requirements that are in section 4, section 5, section 6, 10D, 12, and 25. So there's a lot here, as you see. And this goes back to the Title 30A section for municipal review and approval. This stuff comes from the legislation that, I think it's section 4403. I can follow up with links for that kind of stuff for you guys, because it's in here, but you can't click on it because you have a paper version. So I'll follow up with that in email, just so you guys can have the references to the statutes. But typically, you know, what towns do is take what's in state statute and reflect it in their ordinance, maybe add a little bit more, there's different pieces. So what I did with this was just make sure that I included everything that you guys need for final approval, whether it's starting off with the submission requirements. So you need additional materials when you're going into final approval, one of which is the performance guarantee. I wanted to ask how that typically goes.
Rough.
And sometimes performance guarantees, and that seems to be a big deal at the town level, so that reaction tells me it's all good. You like
Performance
that?
guarantees have been historically overlooked.
yeah, it's hard, it was hard, we had one come up that was an old
And-
one, it's
and-
harder when they're old.
Oh,
and
yeah.
In the
paperwork
last,
than-
in the
yeah.
last 5 years, we have started to insist on performance guarantees, and the code requires a performance guarantee for any subdivision,
Mm-hmm,
major or minor.
yep,
The wording is such that it may not be required for a site plan.
yeah, that's kind of the inkling I got, which is
And-
interesting,
yeah,
because I feel
yeah.
like in other
And that needs to be-
municipalities,
That
the
needs to
site,
probably be tightened up a little bit more, make it a little more black and white.
exactly,
But the other biggie is that and this is the challenge for the board and especially for the applicants, performance guarantee is based on monetary value of the project. And the monetary value of the project requires a very well-developed schedule of costs.
yeah,
and a budget.
Mm-hmm.
And the ordinance requires 100% performance guarantee on required improvements. And that required improvements is quite broad.
Yeah,
And so the applicants are not accustomed to and are very resistive of compiling cost estimates.
yes, and that's something that, you know, I've seen as well from my standpoint, but importance of it is, right now, there's a subdivision in Minot that they did not finish phase 3. They did not complete their road, so their road goes like this, and it stops, and then it's blank up here. They came in to try to do phase 3, but because they waited 20 years, the land changed completely, and now they have to do all of these improvements to the land to be able to build the road because they extended the wetland area from not further developing it. So having something like a performance guarantee, make sure that if that applicant's like, we're not finishing phase 3, that's all right, we have the money to build that road anyway. So that's gonna be set up well for the town in the future. So maybe something we'll just look at improving.
Erica, we got just about 12 minutes left. I'd like to open the floor up to questions
Yes.
from everybody here. So
Please, Ted, thank you.
If we
Yeah.
can have a question, a Q&A here, that would be super. So
Yeah.
Please, step forward, people with your questions.
As you can tell, I'm not shy. And also, you can email me at any time. So like, say if you guys leave this and you come up and you're, maybe I should have asked about that. Please just email me and ask. I'm happy to help. I'm here as a resource for the towns. And again, you guys are doing so much with so little that if there's anything I can do to help, I'm happy to do it.
Would you go through for my appeals board what the undue hardship is?
Yes, I have that slide.
Thank you.
So, blah, 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 finding fact, blah, 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 comprehensive plan, everything has to conform to what's within the comprehensive plan, okay, move on. All right, variance appeals. So variance appeals are relief from dimensional requirements, including but not limited to, this on page 23, just so everybody knows. Lot width, setbacks, and structure height. The board should not grant a variance unless the proposed structure or use would meet the applicable performance standards except for the specific provision which has created the nonconformity from which the relief is sought. So that doesn't mean that they don't meet X, Y, and Z of the code, so they're coming in to try to get a variance. It means there's one component that they are deficient in, and they're asking for relief of that one requirement from the board. Before the board to do so, the strict application of the ordinance would cause an undue hardship. So the undue hardship criteria is 1, the land in question cannot yield a reasonable return unless a variance is granted. This doesn't mean that if somebody has an undersized lot in the shoreland that was created at whatever time, that doesn't mean that a variance is automatically granted. And I just want to point out, because I just had a conversation with DEP where I asked for their interpretation of, do you think it would be applicable for a variance to be issued here? And the interpretation was that the land yielded a reasonable return in recreational value, but not residential value. So their variance was denied because their land still had recreational value, even though they couldn't develop on it. They were very mad about that. But those are the sort of things where if you have any questions with anything that comes up that's within the shoreland, reach out to Cole and Clark. They are happy to answer your questions, and they do not like to have to come in after the fact that a variance that shouldn't have been granted is granted, and then they have to come in and scramble around.
They slap us.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
That Bangor training, they were just really emphasizing how it really needs to be rare.
Eh,
Like, that you
Yeah.
really has to, variances have to be rare. They
Very
can't be-
rare.
Yeah.
And
Otherwise,
another,
change your ordinance.
and another thing of it is, then you're setting a precedent. And that's something that I like to bring up too, is if you have one application, it's just one application. You bet everybody else that comes forward and that one decision you made, they're going to bring that up if they have a similar proposal. And you maybe let that one slide a little bit, everybody else is gonna expect you to let it slide a little bit too. So it has to meet this hardship criteria, and like you said, it really should be on rare cases where it blatantly makes sense for you to grant a variance, not, this lot doesn't conform, but we want to do this in this zone. So other components of that are The need for the variance is due to a unique condition of the land and not general conditions of the neighborhood. So this is one people try to play around with a lot. Well, everybody else has the same lot size. That doesn't matter. We still have to enforce our ordinance. Next one is granting a variance would not alter the essential character of the town. That one's a little bit funny to hang your hat on, but it is definitely, you have to make sure that, okay, if you're gonna grant a variance for something that would absolutely change the nature of the town, definitely shouldn't do that. The last one is the one that I see come up the most. The hardship can't be a result of an action taken by the applicant or the prior owner. I have seen people that just bought a piece of land 2 years ago and they come in to get their building permit, but the person before them made their lot a little bit smaller, and then they bought the lot, and the lot became unbuildable because the person that had it before them made the lot size smaller. As much as that's terrible for that person that bought that land, the action was made by the previous owner, so they wouldn't qualify for the undue hardship piece, which is another reason why education is so important, because if people don't know when they chop up their land and make it undevelopable, you can't get the variance because you're the one that created the issue. And then we have administrative appeals. So, administrative appeals, you're going to decide administrative appeals where it's alleged an aggrieved party and there's an error of any order, requirement, decision, or termination made by or failure to act by the planning board in the administration of the code or the code enforcement officer in review of an action on a permit enforcement. So, planning board administration, code enforcement, enforcement. Appellate basis, so review of a decision made by the planning board. You may only review the record. So when I talked about before, those FOA pieces, that's where all of that would come back. That would be part of the record that you guys would have, is all those written notes, the emails. You will only be able, for an administrative appeal or on the appellate basis, you will only have the materials that have been reviewed, and you will look at those to make your decision. If it is on a de novo basis, you may receive and consider new evidence and testimony. Joelle, have you guys ever had that in the recent past? Well, no, because you're the
No, I
code
believe it was
enforcement.
an appellate basis, so.
Okay,
We had to review just the planning board record, right, guys?
yep. Cool. Well, that, nice. So you guys have already, you got some under your belt,
We know what we're up to.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Okay. So I have just some best practices for the Board of Appeals. So was this, did the decision have any errors or omissions? Was the decision arbitrary? Was the decision contrary to the ordinance or facts presented to the planning board? So again, that's when these are going to be really helpful when you're reviewing an application and you have that blatantly in front of you. So again, variance really, really has to be a significant, unique case for you to move forward with that. So does it qualify for all the characteristics that are in the undue hardship? And would the application otherwise meet the code aside from that one provision they're seeking the variance for? Not. Here's our 5 things.
Erica, an application that doesn't fit in the table of land use, is that a variance? If an application gets denied because it does not conform with the table of land use in the UDRO, and the applicant appeals that denial.
Of a land use determination. So if you have it in your land use code that, no, this is not an allowed use in this zone.
The UDRO table of land use in chapter 11 or whatever, section 11 or whatever it is.
Mhm.
And it says,
Uses similar to uses required a planning board permit, is that the sentence you're looking for?
That was what I was gonna say. Or are you saying
Well,
someone
well,
requests a variance for a land use that isn't permitted in the zone?
exactly,
Okay, that's what I thought.
Somebody comes in and wants to put a Dollar General in the rural zone.
Which is a blatant no in
And-
your code,
and-
yes.
And submits the application, the planning board denies it because
It doesn't meet,
it doesn't meet. Now, is that, and then that applicant appeals, does it go to the Board of Appeals as a variance request? Or is it an administrative review?
I think it would be an administrative review if the planning, because the planning board would have to deny the application based off the fact that it isn't permitted through land use code. So the applicant would then appeal the decision of the planning board, which was
Yeah.
made in conformance with the
Okay.
EPRO.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And along the same lines,
Don't approve.
if,
You got enough Dollar General.
if density, if they are not within the density standards,
The lot area standards, yes, so,
is that a variance or is that a administrative appeal?
so I just wanted to bring it back to, I forget which one I had it under, I did have it under one of them, I don't remember what it is now. So you're saying of lot area
So
or a setback?
the UDRO says in the resort development district, for multi-unit housing, it has to be 10,000 square feet per unit.
Mm-hmm,
Okay. So a developer has 1,000 square feet, or 10,000, 100,000 square feet,
yeah,
and comes in with 12 units. So he doesn't have the 120,000 square feet, they have just 100,000 square feet. So the planning board says, you are not, your application's denied.
yep. That,
They go to the Board of Appeals.
mm-hmm,
Is that a variance request, or is that a appeal and administrative review?
it could be looked at either way, of appealing the decision of the planning board or requesting a variance from that specific standard.
That our Board of Appeal, you can't appear in front of the board for a variance
Unless the
request until
planning
you've been
board-
aggrieved.
Exactly,
And you're not aggrieved until the planning board
makes their
or
decision.
the code enforcement officer says.
No.
"Eh."
And then, that's when they then seek out the Board of Appeals.
So that's why my question is, when it's gone through either the CEO review or the planning board review, it's been denied,
Mm-hmm,
something like a density violation or non-conformance,
mm-hmm.
that's why I was asking, I was just kind of, is that a variance? Are they requesting a variance? Or are they,
Appealing the decision of the planning
Wouldn't they
board.
have to say what they're doing?
Yeah, they would have to
Yeah.
fill out the
They
right
would have to say
application, right?
why-
Yeah, exactly.
why they're appealing.
Because they could either be appealing the planning board's decision, or they could be requesting
Right,
a
but-
variance of the standards, you know, like, so you could look at it in both ways, I see exactly what you're saying,
But
Ted.
they would have to decide how they're doing the appeal.
Yeah.
Why?
they or the Board of Appeals decides if it's appropriate, proper.
Well, that's after they've filed for a motion to appeal.
Mhm.
You can't just say, I'm appealing. You have to say why, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah,
And they can't submit two, they can't
No.
do both.
no,
Okay.
yeah, so it's one or
You
the
gotta
other,
pick
are you appealing the decision based off the planning board's review, but in that, if you made a decision based off the code and they appealed it, I mean, they would lose that because you made the decision according to the code, but
Can they
Right.
come and take another bite of the apple?
I was just trying to see if there's a little less gray between what is a variance
I know,
and what is just an appeal because you didn't like the decision.
I know, and it's quirky, and I've seen them come about in both ways.
Okay.
I have a question. Are we like the Supreme Court? We can deny the appeal?
You
We
bet,
don't even have to consider it if it's frivolous.
yes, and you absolutely have the
Awesome.
rationale and everything to
I'm
say
saving
that.
this stuff.
But you have to stand behind your vote.
Yes.
Well, if they're bringing a frivolous
Like in
appeal,
that
Yeah,
case, you
and
could say,
unlike
well,
the
it
Supreme
doesn't
Court,
match the
they can
UDR.
then go to the main judicial court.
they can have fun
They
with
can,
that.
they
If you
can
got
keep
shot
it,
in
they
the
can
head.
keep the decision again, yes, exactly.
But yeah, we don't have to waste our time, is what I'm trying to
It
say.
is,
Yeah.
it is in
Yeah.
our ordinance, that's in our ordinance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, if anybody tries to ask any questions, why do we need this? Because it's in our ordinance, we're not just making this up.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Erica, at 6 o'clock, thank you very much for,
Yeah, thank you, that's great.
we'd like to have you back again.
Within an hour, but
You
it's
got
good
it.
to see you guys.
Would you just say you're pausing this until we start our meeting?
Okay,
I know.
we're pausing the video
We have
until
fun.
the planning board meeting. You all set? No?
We are now.
Good evening. This is the August 5th, 2026 meeting of the Town of Newry, Maine Planning Board. This meeting will come to order. My name is Ted Baker. I am the chairperson of the board.
Oh, we don't have Brian back
Oh,
yet.
All right? The
Brian,
meeting has not come to order yet.
Select
I
one.
just saw the empty seat.
I think I'm gonna shift his bag over a little bit, just to give ourselves a little more space. Not that we don't have
Can't
to
wait
share.
to see. Really grateful for my little baked good, thank you.
Delicious.
Oh, you're welcome. That little Puzzle Mountain
So
Bakery is like
excited.
just up the, have you stopped at it before?
No, because I usually end up missing it because I come here first, and every time I'm like, I need to go and get
Oh,
something. So this
I
is like
know.
a miracle when he walked in with
And
it.
I actually stopped at that other one, I've been meaning to do it forever, that one that's before it on the right, and so I got some oatmeal bread
that's
there.
still rolling, just so everybody remembers.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Sure.
I got
Yeah.
You're not staying for us? Do you get the kitchen pass?
I'll be in touch
I have to
on.
be in Sugarloaf at 6:15 tomorrow morning.
Ooh.
Feels not.
Oh, that's right.
Busiest
Don't get hit
woman
by a
I know.
rollerblade.
I won't.
Bye, Joel.
6:15 in the morning. How far away is Sugarloaf from here?
About 2 hours. Everything's 2 hours from here.
Ooh, that's an early morning. That means like you're not, that means you're up before 4:15. 'Cause
Yeah. See,
you
that's
gotta
why
actually wake up.
I don't mind the night meetings. I'm okay with that, but like early there, I'm like,
Yes.
I'll do 6 o'clock's perfect for me. Then I just drive home, eat my baked good.
There you go. And those are so yummy, those meat.
I'm very excited.
That did, Brian.
Just
Just as fast as I go.
go.
Well, you didn't have to.
Oh, wait.
Oh, we did.
You're all set.
All right. Good evening. This is the August 5th, 2026 meeting of the Town of Newry, Maine Planning Board. The meeting will come to order. My name is Ted Baker. I'm the chairperson of the board. As we are all are aware of, this is a public meeting, and the public has the right to hear everything that's being said unless the board votes to enter into executive session for Maine's Freedom of Access Act. The public also has the right to review any of the material created or received by the board that relates to the board deliberation unless state law makes that document confidential. Please notify the board if you are unable to hear or would like to have access to any material. Again, everybody be aware that tonight's meeting is being audio recorded by the recording secretary. If anybody would like or need access to this or previous meeting audio recordings, please see the town administrator. I would also like to welcome Western Hill Access Television and its viewers. And Erica, we will sign you in even though you haven't signed in already.
Thanks.
Reminder that this is a working session of the planning board, and by the Maine's Freedom of Access law, the public is entitled to attend the meeting, take notes of the meeting, make audio or visual recordings of the meeting. It's the board's policy not to allow public comment during the meeting. However, as chairperson, I may allow exceptions when it is in the interest of the board. And by our bylaws, this meeting may not last more than 2.5 hours. The meeting may be extended by 30 minutes in increments if a motion to extend with a pro vote is made for each 30-minute increment. If the meeting is not extended, any remaining agenda items or discussions will be tabled at that time. Tonight's meeting includes the following business. We have no new or unfinished applications. We do have the never-ending rules of procedure review. Prior to this, let's take attendance. Tonight's in attendance is myself, Ted Baker as chair, Heidi Murata vice chair, Cindy White as secretary, and welcome Brian Moore, our newly appointed alternate.
Thank you.
If anybody out in Western Hill Access TV land would like to be alternate, the second alternate for the board, please step forward. We have a quorum, all 3 board members are here. And all 3 board members were at the last meeting, plus we have no unfinished business to carry forward, so the 3 members of the board are eligible to vote. Let's move on to the minutes of the prior meeting. Does any member of the board have any edits or comments on the minutes for the July 1st, 2026 meeting? Hearing none, I will take a motion to approve, please.
Motion to approve the minutes of the Wednesday, July 4th, Newry Planning Board meeting.
July 1st, right?
July 1st? July 1st. Did I say that? July 1st. You said July 4th. July
That's
1st.
holiday on mine.
Are you seconding that, Cindy?
I'll second, yes.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes as written with a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll take a vote.
1,
2,
3, let the record show that the minutes have been approved as written. Next item is business correspondence received. I am not aware of any correspondence. Has any board member had correspondence?
no.
No. All right, we have no new applications or unfinished applications, so let's move on to tonight's business. I will like to amend our agenda and move to the top. A request from Erica to review and discuss the NEWRY vision statement for the comprehensive plan, which she handed out.
Thanks,
Erica,
Ted.
would you like to give us a brief?
Yes, so I have to say, you know, we worked through bringing the vision statement together, just a draft so that we could present it at the engagement session, and I know I had some of you participate in that. So after we heard those comments, and I know Ted, we spoke a little bit about just making sure we incorporated the fact that Sunday River is a large presence in NEWRY, and we want to recognize that in the vision statement. We talked about updating it at our last meeting, and Heidi came up with some great language to add to the end. So I gave you guys it in writing because I know for myself I sometimes like to not only hear it, but see it in front of me. But I will read it as well. I skipped you, and you're the one that
You
did it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. And so again, if you guys look at this and you do have any thoughts, again, after the meeting or anything like that, please feel free to give me any additional input, and we'll talk about it at the comp plan meeting as a group. But what we have so far is to preserve NEWRY's rural and scenic character by supporting small, locally oriented businesses, protecting ecosystems and viewsheds, and guiding growth in a way that supports a vibrant, sustainable, year-round community while balancing commercial recreation.
I really love that sustainable year-round community, because like, especially after hearing, I still am shocked by those numbers of
Yeah.
94% of the homes are second homes, or
Yeah.
third or fourth or fifth, whatever,
Yeah.
living homes. And what was, did I still doubt that I heard that number right? Was it really, if every house condo was filled, it would be 17,000 people? I mean, it just gave you a sense of how many
I
there
did
are.
and I felt the
And I
need to
was
do the
like-
math for that exact reason.
It kind of immediately gave you a sense of
You're
what
like-
94% is
Yeah,
in
well,
numbers.
that's great to hear, because I was
Yeah.
hoping it would illustrate itself
Yeah.
in that way,
Yeah.
because you really don't realize until you have that number around
Yeah.
it. Yeah, so you know, I'm really happy with where we've evolved with it, and
Yeah.
again, I really loved Heidi's input on the balancing commercial
Yeah.
recreation.
Yeah.
It was just like the perfect touch to it.
Yep.
But again, if anybody has any input, any comments, any revisions, please tell me, and we'll just keep working on it from here so that we can get it where we want it for the plan.
Yeah.
I think that the real point about a vision statement though is it should be really succinct, and you don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to wordsmith it, because you can change a word in a letter and in a.
And then you change
Try not
two
to get
letters.
everybody's
Yeah,
words that
it's
they
just
want.
really.
This is, it's nice and concise.
I think
Yeah,
so
so
too.
I think
Okay.
that I would love to
Thank
see
you.
it just kind of.
That's where I'm at
Front to
too,
back.
Heidi. I'm always like, we'll accept any comments, but we've worked to make it succinct, straightforward, and really
Yeah.
just hit the nail on the head
Yeah.
without being
Yeah.
too much.
I think it's really
It
great.
satisfies my critique that I
Yeah,
have.
because sometimes when they get too long too, they get too wordy and
Yeah.
you don't even
You
know what
lose
it's
sight of
saying.
You lose
Yeah.
half of this, and then it's,
It's like,
To
what
be
does that
that-
mean anyway?
we don't need any more fluff, okay? We're talking about a bunch of stuff in here,
Yeah.
so let's just get straight to the point. So I'd say I really am happy with where it's
Double
at too.
thumbs up.
Yeah, and that, again, that sustainable year-round community gets to the housing piece though too, like, which I know is part of what you guys are working on, is that we
Yeah.
really do want a sustainable year-round community, so let's think about how do we get people that live here year-round. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe I'm hoping that at the next comp plan meeting, Loretta was gonna share it with the select board. I said I'd share it with you guys, that hopefully we can kind of make a decision on, yes, this is what we want, keep it going.
so I think it's safe to say that our representative on the comprehensive plan and speak for the planning board.
Okay, thank you.
That they are,
I already kind of
In
accepted that, Ted, but Heidi has such great input and great thoughts on how we can set the stage for the future in a really productive way, so.
Yeah, it's
Thanks
a
for
great
being
meeting.
I'm
Yeah,
so
they're great
grateful.
meetings. I love
Yeah, me too. They're really fun, honestly. I'm like,
Yeah.
I always look forward to them because
them. Me
it's,
too.
you implying that these meetings aren't fun?
No.
Busted.
All right.
Slightly
Heidi and I are
more
gonna see.
Your true colors are coming through.
We're creating things.
Anything else that we want to talk about, the comprehensive plan? Well, we got the AdCog staff member captive.
so again, I'm just gonna keep going through the updates. The chapter that I wrote most recently is agriculture and forestry, which I'm gonna share with the committee tomorrow. It's one of the shorter chapters given the current landscape of NEWRY, but I expect as the process goes on and we get more into environmental characteristics, I'm really gonna seek your input on, you know, just different pieces that I put within to make sure that you guys as a board too are in agreement with what, you know, we're putting in there based off the type of applications you see, et cetera. Just to make sure I get as much input as possible. So the two bigger ones that will be coming up are water resources and natural resources. And then again, the end all be all truly is the future land use plan, which I imagine we will not only have another engagement session, but I'm thinking I'll probably come and sit down with you guys again as a board based off of what we come up with the committee. So,
Were there any sort of surprises or anything with with the feedback from the surveys that you sent out and the public
so
meeting that
happy
you
you
were?
just said this. I brought all of the stuff from the engagement session to leave at the office here today, and it's in my car, and I totally would have forgotten unless you just said that, so I'm gonna go grab them and bring them in case you're.
Was there anything that was sort of surprising or anything, Heidi, that you guys had talked about that you were surprised was showing up as priorities? Or
I
not
think it was
really?
really solid. I mean,
Me too, yeah.
people were really in agreement, and I feel like that what Eric presented aligned with a lot of the people that were there, so it was actually positive, right?
Yeah.
That kind of reinforced.
Good representation
Yeah.
of the community that came, and then also that we had not necessarily gotten it perfect, but gotten it really close to what they thought, so I thought that was
It was
great.
validating. Definitely, I'm like, we're on the right path. Like, people
Yeah.
are agreeing what we're putting in there. So it felt like a nice, like, first check-in with the community, like, you're on board with this, and it felt like a resounding yes.
Yeah, and the next meeting's on next Monday at the that's the public comprehensive planning meeting here
Yeah.
at 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
If anyone wants
Feel
to
free to
come.
join.
Yeah, anytime.
but it goes, you coming or you're, yeah, maybe I'll do Zoom.
You can always Zoom with us. It's
Those are the
great.
best.
What's
the
date
best.
on Monday? It's the 10th. Yeah, okay. And it's at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, and they're fun. They're fun. I'm gonna go grab those before I forget them, because I definitely
All
don't
right,
stay.
thank you, Erica.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Okay, our next
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just grab, I'll.
Thank you.
business item is the rules of procedures was returned from the attorney and was discussed at the last select board meeting. And as a result of the select board's, it shouldn't be a lot.
No, you're welcome.
Not loud if you are.
In order to facilitate this, I am suggesting that we remove anything that requires this document to go to the select board for approval. So that is primarily the staff responsibilities as detailed in section 2. And as you can see, subparagraphs 2.7, 2.8, and 2.9 have been lined out so that there is no tasking given to individuals who are not under the supervision of the board.
Ted, I got 2.6 through 2.9 crossed out here on.
That's right.
Okay.
That's what it's supposed to be.
All right, I thought I heard something else.
No,
Sorry.
no. If you read the comment up there, that's next to the yellow box.
Oh, okay.
It explains what's going on there. So the the reference to the UDRO was updated to reflect the latest reference. And I added a little, another paragraph there, in the preamble, above the table of contents. One of the things that I feel very strongly about this rules of procedure is that it should be as useful to us as a board as possible, and therefore should be a one-stop reference.
The one piece that you had said, without needing to go other cited documents, specific details, one of the things they talked about at that bank board meeting is to be really careful, though, that you're not citing something that you forget that you actually have to change because it got changed in that other document.
Right.
So that's, I thought that was interesting.
But for instance, the lawyer made the attorney made a comment, say, hey, and under executive sessions, just say it's as per
Title.
MSRA,
Yeah.
umpty-ump.
Yeah,
Which, if we were here in a meeting and we had to go to an executive session, we don't have that MSRA at our fingertips.
but if you pop in here and it's changed at the state level, you might not realize it's changed and you're referencing what's in here.
That's a risk.
That's what they're saying is the risk, is that.
But this is while it's available to the public, it's an internal document, it's not an ordinance.
Yeah, but we just have to be careful if we're reading something that's written in here as state statute, but yet actually changed.
Yeah.
We are,
However, I don't see executive sessions being likely to.
yeah, I'm just sharing their cautionary
Yes,
that they
I
gave
do
about
that.
that.
And that's a good point, that's a good point.
Would you mind if I make a comment, because that made me think about something, and this is something that came to light for me recently. Just to make sure that the time frames that you lay out in either the Board of Appeals ordinance or the Planning Board bylaws are in line with what's within the ordinances too, because I had a situation come up where Shoreland says you can appeal within 45 days, but the Board of Appeals bylaws said it was 30 days.
Yeah, we just went through that.
Okay, see,
And,
that it's a thing that's coming up, yeah.
The one and only recent appeal brought that incompatibility out between the Board of Appeals ordinance and the UDRO, and the lawyers made it all remote.
Perfect, so you already did that part.
So we're, unless they change again, but we're in compliance with that one. So anyway, that's the reason for that inclusion of that new paragraph there on page 1. That the objective of these rules is to provide a one-stop reference to the planning board. I feel very important that this should be a handy reference to be able to turn to and not have to go searching elsewhere. We just talked.
While you're on page 1, just in the table of contents, number 2.
The table of contents. Oh yeah, that needs to be
Yeah, it still references
edited.
towns.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Yep, good catch, thank you, Beth. We already talked about the changes to section 2. There was a minor edit in 3.6 where the attorney suggested that we actually reference the municipal ordinance, which happens to be reference A, which is the UDRO. Executive sessions, here I left things unchanged. I didn't necessarily agree with what the attorney said, that, hey, just go by what the MSRA says. I'm open to discussion, but that's basically has not changed. The remote participation policy, again, the attorney was questioning, hey, doesn't the town have a universal remote participation policy? And it was not. So that's why that's there. If the town does come up with one, then we can come back and amend it. Now we're down to section 8 on page 11 of 14, reconsideration. Again, a minor edit referencing the section 8.2. So just tying up the cross lines there. There was another edit recommended by the attorney on 9/7, conclusions of law, not just conclusions. And then Brandon did suggest that we add a paragraph number 12, the normal disclaimer that says, hey, if these rules are contradicted by a statute or ordinance, the statute or ordinance applies. In the simplified rules of orders, enclosure 1, I remove anything that is not pertaining to the rule of order, which is more of an administrative, how we run the meeting, which I said, yeah, that's already in the main body of the rules, doesn't need to be here. So, under meeting conduct, paragraph 2.1 is gone, 2.2 is gone. See you, Erica, thank you, come back again.
Take care.
And also in paragraph 2721 on page 3, I removed the vague reference to Martha's rules, which nobody really is familiar with.
Do we remember what Martha's rules are? So now I feel like I need to look that up.
Well, you should. It's an interesting read. It's an interesting read. And then section 3, FOIA was all removed because that's discussed in the main rules of procedures. So, to summarize this, in order to get this away from the select board that doesn't seem to be able to make a decision as to how why this is in front of them, I removed any reference to town staff that does not directly report to the planning board, which
Makes sense, I think.
makes sense.
Yeah.
And then the other one was just the minor edits put in required by the attorney. Any comments from anybody? Besides the one edit that Becky pointed out there in the table of contents.
If I made mine already.
Yeah, I think I'm all good with it, and I would love to.
Close this. We gotta go. I have to roll over to the next meeting, but we'll close it then. I will clean this up, get rid of the yellow notes,
Yep,
make it the smooth draft, send it out to everybody, and it will be on the agenda for our next meeting to
Perfect.
vote it in or out.
okay,
And put this year-old puppy
good job.
to bed.
That's great,
Okay,
thank you.
Yeah.
let's see. Heidi, I think you already talked about the comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
Any more comments?
No, we haven't had any meetings since the
since
last,
the
yeah,
last
so we're
one.
good.
And the town administrator has not passed me any quarterly escrow statement. The code enforcement officer ran out of here promptly at 6
Yeah.
o'clock.
Has we heard anything about how the Lock Summit's going, just as one of our after projects, or not?
Well, okay, funny you should bring up the beast. The board has done, or the previous business
Yep.
that the two of you
Yep.
handled is done.
Oh, yeah, that's not, I was just, yeah, because.
That's done. Now, however, we will probably have Lock Summit Estate on the September 2nd agenda, and for an amendment to the application concerning firefighting water storage facilities. And that's as much as I'll say.
Okay.
Yep.
Not knowing,
Yep.
I know it's coming down the pipe, I haven't seen
Down the
anything.
pipe?
Yeah, down the pipe, yes. Pun intended, I'm sure.
Yes.
So without saying anything else, that will
Yep.
probably be on the 2nd of September agenda,
Okay.
not on the 19th or whatever the next one is. Any other open items that people would like to discuss? Cindy, you had a nice road trip to Bangor.
Yeah, that was.
Any takeaways from the MMA Was the dinner good? Did they feed you well?
Yeah, dinner was delicious, and you sell them your veggie ahead of time, and they be this delicious butternut squash ravioli, and
Oh, wow.
no, it was good, it was, I feel like it was as many of those things, it's the questions people ask that help you kind of just learn from it, and it's just helpful. I feel like first time I went to it was just the Zoom, and I had never done the planning board before, a lot of it went over my head, it's hard to pay attention for 4 hours of Zoom, but in person was helpful, and I just kept all the materials so I'm looking forward to our next, first full one, as we work through it.
Actually, the rules are, if you go down chapter 2 of the MMA manual and look at our rules of procedures, you can see where a lot of this came from.
Yeah, I really felt like we were prepared, like a lot of what they're saying we need to do is like we're in good shape with what we do for our procedures.
We have no new, well, before we get to that, for our next meeting, I would like to request that other board members come forth with the path forward for the planning board.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I am acutely aware that I am overbearing and channeling.
Oh, I think you've learned, Ted, that I speak up when I have a.
And I appreciate that, but we're at we just came through a very substantial rewrite of the UDRO.
Yep.
And then a thorough look at how we do business by doing our rules of procedures.
Mhm.
So, I just want to make sure that as a team,
Mhm.
we all have an opportunity to sit there and say, hey, I don't think I like the direction that the board's going, or I really like how we're doing this. I know you've often brought up about the checkoff sheet and how can we make this better?
Well, I think.
Yeah,
I reckon did
That was
something
pretty
like
phenomenal.
that.
Actually, what she did here, she took Becky's checkoff sheet
Yeah,
and our 10.1, 2, 3, and 4,
yeah.
and basically merged them together.
Yeah, it was nice,
think
I
it's
like the
awesome.
color coding of it, and, yeah.
So that was, and it was very nice of Erica to do all of that. But again, I want to be able to make sure that we're answering or going in a direction that everybody's comfortable with in doing this.
So, I had mentioned the last time that I'm gonna actually be away on August 19th, so there's a possibility that maybe I could attend remote, but I don't know if that's possible, because I can only listen,
Well, you're
So-
jumping ahead to the next agenda item, but we have no new business.
right, I won't be able to approve your rules of procedure.
And,
That's the right thing, do we do
well,
that?
we have no new business. I will probably not be able to attend because I have elective surgery coming up on Monday, and I will be probably not up to sitting through a planning board meeting
On the 19th, you mean?
on the
Oh,
19th.
yes, we
Okay.
could just do that and.
So I am proposing, or putting that on the table, that we cancel the meeting.
Yep.
And the next meeting will be on September 2nd.
Yep, that works for me.
well, we're down 2 board members, we should, because everybody else.
You technically would have a
It would
quorum.
be you and I,
Right,
it would be
well-
you and I, Brian, so we might
Yeah,
as well.
who's the other alternate?
Well, we don't have another
We
alternate.
don't have another alternate.
What was, oh, okay,
They were at appeals board.
okay.
They were appeals, that was our board of appeals.
No, I meant the lady that was here the first meeting.
Oh, yeah, she's.
Oh,
yeah,
she did not renew.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your,
I just,
your appointment, your stint as an alternate is up every year,
right,
and she chose not to re-up. And, why we miss Meredith, I can understand why she's on the school board.
no, she's out doing it. No, I
When
just,
she signed up.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be going crazy.
Okay, I'm getting ready to delete this, so you just tell me, I'll be happy to hit.
so, our next meeting will be September 2nd, which will, so give everybody a chance. as I said, I will go out and clean up the final draft of the rules of procedure, and it will be a yay or nay on September 2nd.
That sounds
No
great.
more, no more of
Terrific,
this,
perfect.
I like this, I like that, or I don't like this, I
Yeah.
don't like that. And if so desired, if somebody, if we want to have a discussion as to how the board's doing business, what we need to concentrate on, such as the checkoff sheets or et cetera. Becky?
I just had one question. In the rules of procedure, when you talk about the officers, it talks about the chairman, and then it talks about the
Well,
vice chair and secretary.
there is a
at
change.
the time.
If we adopt this document, the composition of the board will change in that we will only have two officers, the
Right.
chair and a chair/secretary.
Okay, yeah.
And
Yeah, I just
go that way. And speaking of that,
I don't need it for my resume.
whoever picks, assuming
They
that.
can do rock, paper, scissors.
Assuming that the rules of procedures gets approved and we drop down to two officers, then we can,
Discuss that.
we'll have to have discuss another election just to reaffirm that. Yeah. So that's the plan going forward. We will probably have new business on the 2nd. And so that should be coming out no later than 2 weeks from today, the material for that. Please review it.
Can we can I please get a paper copy? I guess I'll have to come and get it.
Which one?
Of the application or what?
Of if we have our packet put together before the meeting.
Oh,
I like paper.
Call up,
Joelle.
Joelle is
I thought
very
she
good,
usually distributed.
Joelle is more than happy to
Okay.
Oh,
play
yeah.
courier.
Yeah, she usually distributes them around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she's been very good about that, especially if it's a sizable package.
Yeah.
So, and if, just drop her an email, say,
Okay,
hey, by the
perfect.
way, I'd like to be on the paper handout.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
No, and just Ted, on your comment as far as being pushed, being strong-willed, one of the things I appreciate is your willingness to do, there's a lot of work
Yeah.
in updating the UDRO, keeping on top of all these things.
No, thank you.
And so appreciation for you being willing to do that hard work. And, one of the things I heard from Erica that I'll work on too is like just making sure, that we're reading everything ahead of time to help everything go forward.
Yeah.
There's a ton of work
Yeah,
that goes
I-
behind that.
Yeah,
and-
I've sat through my board, this board meeting where the silence was just interminable because other members of the board had just opened up the packet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think we're very functional.
yeah, I think we're, yeah.
So,
That's my only comment, and I'll
I've
say,
been here for a long time, and I appreciate your attention to
yeah,
detail.
you got a lot of history.
Yeah, I mean, when I have to do the minutes and the finding of facts and stuff, I appreciate the attention to detail. Sure, it makes my job so
As
much
long as
easier.
you don't start throwing darts at that picture.
I have like a
I'd like to
dedicated
make a
bag for
motion
all this
to
planning
adjourn
stuff.
Well, I do
It's
too
just
now.
so-
I
it's like
will
so
second-
nice and it's
I will
fine.
second
Yeah,
that.
I don't know if we're forgetting anything.
We have a motion to adjourn, and I have seconded that motion. Is there any opposition to adjourning?
None.
Okay, so may I have a vote, please?
1,
2, 3, okay.
all right.
See you all on the 2nd of September.
Thank you,
bet. Good luck
thank you,
with the
thank you.
surgery.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything I can do, let me know.
so glad we're postponing.
Thanks for joining us, Brian.
Yeah, how good at your stack of wood?
Did she start that back up again?
Yes, I gotta go figure out, or have you been?
No, I've never.
It
I've never
It might run all night long.
might run on all night, when Bruce Morton will have to come and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been sent people.
All right.